Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Deep Dive Podcast. Hope you are doing well and taking good care of yourself. We go beyond the headlines and uncover the truth behind real stories, real crimes, and real consequences. Let's move towards today's topic.
Today, you've handed us a stack of source material that honestly reads less like history and more like a terrifying proof of concept for science fiction.
It's a heavy one. We're looking at official police reports, suppressed medical analysis, and, decades of leaked internal memos.
All concerning one of India's most profound and frankly baffling cold cases. A mystery known as Project Kalpvriksh. Okay, let's unpack this. Our sources detail the chilling events in 1974. A small, isolated village in Uttar Pradesh, and the discovery of 5 beings who just fundamentally defied human biology.
And that name, Kalpvriksh, is so important.
Right.
In Hindu mythology, it's the wish-fulfilling tree. And this story is really about the hubris of researchers who tried to fulfill a wish for a new, perfect species.
And what happened when that wish turned into, well, a complete nightmare?
Our mission today is very specific. We're just tracing the factual, chronological evidence. What was actually found in that house? What did the medical findings prove?
And maybe most critically, what did the persistent theories and all the subsequent incidents tell us about the fate of these 5 non-human entities? The things the government has tried for 50 years to suppress.
Yeah. And the key takeaway for you listening is this. This is so far beyond folklore. The source documents contain hard scientific specifics.
Things like chromosome counts, unique blood protein structures.
Exactly. Details that, if they were widely known, would force a complete reevaluation of how we define mammalian life on Earth. We are talking about data that points to the successful creation of a new life form.
So the story begins with a brutal summer. It's July 1974 in the village of Rampura near Varanasi.
The heat was just oppressive. The reports say it was pushing 45 degrees Celsius.
It sets the stage for a breakdown, both biological and social. And the focus narrows very quickly to the home of Rajesh Verma. He was a quiet school teacher.
Lived there with his wife Sumitra and their 3, and this is important, their 3 biological children.
The first alarm came from a neighbor, a man named Mohanlal Shukla. For 5 days, the Verma house was just unnaturally silent.
All the windows and doors sealed tight in that heat.
Exactly. But the silence wasn't the real terror. It was the smell.
And the descriptions in those initial police records are just so vivid and unsettling.
It wasn't the smell of decomposition, which, the villagers would have known.
Right. They knew that smell. This was described as something acrid, metallic, vaguely chemical. One source even noted it reminded them of an old abandoned medical lab. A sterile, cold smell.
So eventually the village head, Ram Prasad Tiwari, he organizes a forced entry.
And the scene inside is immediately wrong. Dark, still.
There are no signs of struggle, no blood. But instead, the floor is slick with this strange, clear liquid, almost slightly blue.
And then there's the physical damage. This is hard to explain. The walls on the ground floor weren't just scratched, they were gouged.
Inspector Chauhan's report estimates the marks went nearly half an inch deep.
Into plaster and brickwork.
Yeah, as if carved by some immense hardened pressure. It suggests not just a creature, but something with profound physical strength and really unique appendages.
And amidst all this, they find these old papers scattered on a table. Yellowed sheets covered in strange symbols and these disturbing sketches.
Not just doodles. They were detailed anatomical drawings of human-like figures, but with deliberately distorted and abnormal features. This is clearly not just a family home.
No, it's a research site. And that's when they found them. Upstairs, the 5 subjects huddled together.
And the differences were so extreme that Tiwari, the village head, he stated in his report, they knew instantly these were not the Verma family's children.
Dr. Pandey's records, he was the attending district doctor, are just meticulous on this.
What did he know? What were the specifics?
Their skin was described as incredibly pale, almost transparent, maybe from being kept out of sunlight, or something deeper, a genetic flaw.
And the eyes.
The eyes were the most disturbing feature. Disproportionately large and just, entirely black. No visible difference between the iris and the pupil. It gave them this chilling, alien gaze.
What about their hands?
The fingers were abnormally long, but the most extreme detail was on the youngest looking one. Where you'd expect to see fingernails, there were these hardened, chitinous, almost insect-like claws.
Right.
And when they were approached, their response was immediate terror. But the sounds they made? High-pitched whistles mixed with these guttural growls, nothing like human language.
So the immediate reaction from the police was just sheer panic.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting them out of the house and to the hospital was a physical ordeal. They resisted human touch, which is a key detail, and they screamed those horrific sounds.
What's fascinating here is how quickly the evidence moves from a local police mystery to, well, a global scientific conundrum.
Dr. Pandy's initial exams, right?
Yeah, they confirmed a radically different internal physiology. Their body temperature was critically subnormal, around 35 degrees Celsius, far too cold for a human to live for long.
And their pulse was erratic, blood pressure dangerously low.
But for anyone with a medical background listening, this next detail is the hardest one to reconcile with known biology.
The blood.
The blood. When they drew it, it wasn't red. It was a peculiar, shocking blue-green color.
That's not possible in humans.
It's a huge deviation. Human blood is red because of iron-based hemoglobin carrying oxygen. Blue-green blood suggests a completely different system. Copper-based, like hemocyanin. You see that in, like, spiders or octopuses.
But not in mammals, ever.
Never. So Pandy rightly didn't trust his own finding. He rushed the samples to a reputable lab in Lucknow.
And the Lucknow lab report, which we see referenced everywhere in the source file, it didn't just confirm the oddity.
No, it confirmed a new definition of life. The report was definitive. The blood protein structure was labeled unknown. It bore no resemblance to anything in their mammalian database.
And the genetics.
The genetics were the total shock. The chromosome count was 52.
52. Wait, that's not just a mutation or a disorder, is it? What does that actually mean?
It means they are fundamentally not human, or even closely related to us. Humans have 46 chromosomes. Even with extreme genetic disorders, the deviation is minor.
So jumping to 52.
It means this isn't a product of natural, flawed human reproduction. It means these subjects belong to a distinct biological branch, a new life form, engineered into existence.
That's the moment the doctors realized they weren't dealing with sick children.
They were dealing with prototypes.
So while the medical community was reeling from this, Inspector Chauhan was trying to find the missing Verma family. His search of the house, especially the cellar, that's where he found the missing pieces.
He finds these old diaries. One notebook is covered in those same strange symbols they saw upstairs, and it's filled with these unsettling, manic notes.
The core message was chilling. They're here. They were always here.
It suggests the researcher knew these beings were the result of a long, deliberate process.
Then there's another diary entry, dated July 1973. It's likely from Sumitra, the wife. She wrote about her husband, Rajesh, hiding things and talking to children who are not ours.
Which confirms the Vermis knew these 5 subjects were entirely separate from their own 3 children, and that the situation had been escalating for at least a year.
But the real breakthrough, the link to the past, was a locked iron box.
And inside,
Old, faded black and white photos of the 5 non-human children. But in the photos, they look exactly the same as they did in 1974. They hadn't aged a day in 20 years.
That's the major discrepancy. How could that be possible?
Chauhan found the answer right there with them. A photo of Rajesh Verma, the father, in a white lab coat. And it was labeled Project Kalpvriksh 1952.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Chauhan then followed an anonymous tip. It led him to Dr. Ashok Mehra's 1952 research papers buried deep in the archives of Allahabad University.
And these documents finally revealed the full scope of the project.
Mehra's research detailed an experimental study on genetic modification and human development. It confirmed the project's incredibly ambitious goal.
To create a new species, better than humans.
Designed to be smarter, stronger, more resilient. The notes explicitly mention blending human and animal DNA. But the most unsettling part, the inclusion of genetic material from some unknown sources.
And Rajesh Verma's name was listed right there, an assistant researcher on the 1952 project. It confirms his role in their creation.
But the crucial detail, the thing that explains those unaged photographs, is the slow aging mechanism.
This is the core scientific detail that changes everything about how you see these beings.
Mara's notes explicitly stated it. While the 5 embryos developed normally, their postnatal growth rate was deliberately manipulated to be abnormally slow.
And he documented the exact ratio.
He did. They aged only 1 physical year for every 10 calendar years.
So if they were created in 1952, by 1974 they'd be 22 calendar years old, but physically only look about 2 or 3.
Exactly, matching the age of the children found in the house.
That one ratio explains everything. They weren't babies, they were chronologically young adults trapped in toddler bodies.
It explains the immense physical strength needed to gouge the walls. It explains the profound level of panic and intellectual terror they exhibited. They weren't infants, they were highly intelligent beings experiencing something awful.
And the moment this discovery was tied to a classified government project, the suppression was just swift and overwhelming.
Delhi officials, senior scientists, military personnel, they all just descended on Rampura.
Chauhan and Dr. Pandey were effectively silenced. They were forced to sign lifetime official secrecy acts.
And the children were immediately reclassified as biological material and moved to a secret, military-controlled facility.
The cover-up was so complete, they even razed the Verma house to the ground, built a public park over it to erase any physical evidence.
And the human cost of the project was realized just months later. The Verma family, Rajesh, Sumitra, and their 3 normal children were found dead in Delhi.
A suicide pact. Poison. It happened around the same time the subjects were discovered.
Rajesh's suicide note. It's a horrifying glimpse into that psychological burden. He confirmed he created something that is not human. He confessed he couldn't bear to leave them to their fate, but he couldn't keep them safe either.
The weight of it all drove him to destroy his entire family.
The suppression was effective, it kept the story out of the mainstream for a long time. But the sources we have compiled show the mystery never actually ended. It just went underground.
And a project's signatures started reappearing in a very distinct pattern years later.
First, in 1996, at a big international genetics conference, a scientist, Dr. Suresh Kapoor, who had access to high-level records, publicly mentioned Project Kalpvriksh.
And he confirmed the 5 successful samples.
Yes, and that they had disappeared in 1974. The sources indicate he died suspiciously the very next day.
The official ruling was a sudden heart attack.
Of course, the implication is clear. Those who talk are silenced.
But what's truly terrifying is the physical reemergence, not of the story, but of them. In 2003, a highly secured military research center in Rajasthan was infiltrated.
And crucially, the documents that were stolen were all related to Project Kalpvriksh.
How did investigators know who had been there?
2 clear markers. First, that distinct, strange chemical odor, the same one from 1974, permeated the area.
And the scratches.
And the signature deep scratches, similar to the ones in the Verma house, were found carved into the facility's secure walls. This was not a standard theft, it was a retrieval, an investigation by someone linked directly to the original project.
Which suggests that by 2003, the 5 subjects, who would be chronologically over 50 but physically look like teenagers, were not only alive, but sophisticated enough to infiltrate a military base to find documents about their own origins.
Absolutely. Then fast forward to 2020. A trekking group in a remote part of Himachal Pradesh stumbles on an extremely isolated cave.
And inside, they find old, rusted medical gear, chemical bottles, and strangely, 5 small crude beds.
And again, the distinctive deep wall scratches and that persistent, strange chemical odor.
It really paints a picture of these beings being constantly on the move, maybe perpetually in hiding, using these remote shelters as they physically mature.
Which brings us to the most unsettling modern theories, especially when you consider their slow aging. The original subjects, created in 1952, are chronologically over 70 years old in 2025.
But physically, They'd only appear to be in their mid-20s.
An adult mind, 7 decades of memory, and superior engineered intelligence all trapped inside a physically youthful body.
So that raises the serious question. If they are mentally and physically superior and visually indistinguishable from us now, what are they doing?
The sources diverge here. One theory is that they're still hidden, maybe in an even more remote facility, being intensely studied by whatever group took over the project.
But there's a more terrifying hypothesis.
That they are free, living among us, possibly in high positions where their superior intelligence and, lack of emotional attachment might be an asset.
And there are these circumstantial data points that support the idea they might be continuing their line, or that the research is still going.
Right. The sources cite a 2010 incident in Mumbai. A baby was born with large, entirely dark eyes and transparent skin. It matched the 1974 descriptions perfectly.
And the family vanished from the hospital 2 days later. No trace.
And even more recently, 2021, during the chaos of the pandemic, a doctor posted a panicked message on social media about treating a patient whose blood work showed non-human DNA.
And she said she recognized it from old archived material.
That post was quickly and forcibly retracted, but the screenshot is still in the source files, a confirmation that this physiology is still surfacing.
And underpinning this whole half-century of mystery is the chilling fate of the investigative journalist Neeraj Sharma. He dedicated years to this story.
Gathering testimony, official reports.
And in 2018, after getting anonymous threats and having all his documentation stolen, he just disappeared. That's the definition of a cold trail being maintained by power into suppression.
This deep dive, it forces us to confront this terrifying reality that the initial experiment wasn't a failure at all. It was a success that was deemed too dangerous to admit.
The sources consistently show a clear loss of control by the researchers,
followed by an immediate systemic government effort to silence the truth and manage the resulting biological anomalies.
So what does this all mean? The persistence of the chemical odors, the scratches, the thefts, the modern sightings. It all points to one clear conclusion from the sources.
Project Kalpvriksh never truly ended.
It just went profoundly underground, probably evolving its methods. The sources speculate the research is likely continuing today with modern gene editing, CRISPR, to refine the prototypes, creating even more advanced versions of humanity.
And that slow aging process remains the most terrifying factor. The original verma children are still functionally young, physically in their 20s, but with 7 decades of accumulated knowledge and the engineered advantages of a new species.
If they look just like us now, but possess superior intelligence and a determination to uncover their origins, how would we ever know who they are and what their ultimate plan might be for a world that denied their existence for 50 years? The terrifying thought you're left with is this. Every person you meet who seems just a little bit smarter, a little bit stronger, and maybe a little too detached from humanity might just be the continuation of Project Kalpvriksh.
This was all for today. Stay happy, stay safe, comment your views down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time with another story in Deep Dive.